Hello, we're going to go live in a few minutes on BTR. So I'm just going to be quiet for just a few seconds and we will be going live. I'm kind of excited. This is going to be a good day. Got a lot planned for tonight and discussions.
Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. Here we go. I have an incredible show lined up, and I'm hoping we have some willing readers today. If you were unable, if you were unable to get your to get the writing I put up on Facebook, if you can just put your email in the private chat, and I will send you I will email the copy to you. I think it's a humorous bunch of lines that we're going to be reading. The Night Journey Tale, edited and rewritten by Usama Dakdak and myself, and we'll be talking about that. As this is a Christian news show, I first want to get into, and let's see, and we got Rad with us. Okay, I first want to get into reading the Word of God. I'm expecting my video to go out. This is why I need to go buy a new computer this week. I've been pushing it off, and as you can see, I'm fluctuating no matter what I do here, all of a sudden it seems to be working. We'll see how long that lasts. But let's get into reading from the Word of God first, since we're a Christian news show. Matthew 6, 5-8. And when you pray, you shall not be as the hypocrites are, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and in the corners of the streets, that they may be seen of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. But you, when you pray, enter into your closet. When you have shut your door, pray to your Father which is in secret. And your Father which sees in secret shall reward you openly. But when you pray, use not vain repetitions, as the heathen do, for they think that they shall be heard for their much speaking. Be you not therefore like unto them, for your Father knows what things you have need of before you even ask. Chuck Smith says this passage, the assumption is that you will pray. Prayer is communication between us finite beings and the vast infinite being, God. We are not to pray so that others can see us for the purpose of being seen. We know some group of people that do that. This speaks to God knowing our hearts. He knows our intentions. He knows why we do things, and that matters. What does this say about our prayers? Are we willing Are we talking to God in our prayers? Are we sincere? Do we dare to hold something back knowing God knows all? Jesus tells us that he is God through these words by calling out the wayward hearts that self-proclaim their own righteousness before men. Jesus not only points out the problem here, he provides the solution. He establishes himself as a problem solver for the hearts of all. He paints a picture of a small space, like a closet within the home, being a place you can pray in and talk to God as being not only better, but ideal. It is a place to privately seek God, his wisdom, and even a place to bring your problems to God. He is not saying you need a closet to pray. Jesus is proclaiming as God that those who dare to proclaim their own holiness are pretenders and that they have no relationship with him. Shutting the door behind you is something most ushers and churches have ingrained in them. It tells them to close the doors during prayer, to keep out distractions. Shutting the door also separates you. It puts you alone with God. It is there you and I are the most honest with God. He knows us better than we know ourselves. God is also telling you and me, all of us, we can ask for help with our most horrible issues in life. Things we would like to keep private just between him and us. You can ask for help with loved ones. You can ask for help with overcoming sin. You can plead your guilt. You can be true there, for no one is watching and no one can hear. With this being said about how we should pray, Jesus comes back and establishes that vain repetitions are not prayers. You can repeat the words over and over again, they don't count. You can repeat your plea to God, word for word. But if they are but words with no meaning, except to please yourself, they are worthless. Prayers are to be personal. They are communications from you and the living God. Repeating something and using prayer beads does nothing. Jesus is saying it matters how you pray. Prayer must be sincere and from the heart. Things like rosaries are not prayers, but worthless words that do not even qualify as a prayer. Repeating them gets you nothing. Jesus said this. He even referenced the pagan rituals with memorized prayers. God wants your heart. He wants to talk with you. He wants you to hear him. Dear Lord Jesus, you truly are God. You knew all the shortcuts we would take if we thought we would improve our talks with you. Lord, work on us. Mold us into someone who constantly is in prayer seeking your will. Your will over my own. Lord, help me to be one who sees your wonders after seeking them in prayer. Lord, please use me to share this great and wondrous love you are showing me each day. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, now let's get back to the show. The joys of life. Now, I have a huge plan here, which I've got to still pull a few things together and get this going. This is going to be probably one of the bigger things I've done on this topic in quite a while. In general, I haven't gone off on this topic in quite a while. And today, I just can't help myself. So again, if anybody did not, get the skit, I sent in the private chat, there is a link to a skit. It's in a PDF, and you want to join us, please do. Jesus Worldwide, you want to come join us? I'll put the link in there because we're looking for extra readers today. We'll need about, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We might make it. Let's see. We'll put one in. We'll talk about the number who's doing what when we get to that part, and we'll have a good laugh with it. Darcy, I think, is going to be our narrator. I'm going to take the role of Jabril, who is Mr. Clueless in this story, and we'll go from there. But let's talk about these 5 pillars. Now, this is something Usama Dakdak and I have been working on. We've put it together to basically put out to Christian schools, to get the truth out, and to hide the lies, and cover up, not hide the lies, but expose the lies is what I mean. And this stuff that we're going to share, I'm going to slightly change this so everybody can see. I think everybody can see this. All right. I think that this is real important stuff. And you're going to see a huge impact, I hope. So let's talk about these 5 pillars. And today I'm only going to cover the first 2. Let's talk about the Shahada. It says, I bear witness that there is... Yes? Okay. I'm going to mute you for a minute, Larry. Okay. All right. I bear witness that there is not God except Allah, it says. And again, he uses the word witness, that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Here's the problem with this. The Shahada doesn't exist anywhere in the Quran. Not one place. Some Muslims believe that by saying these 2 statements in Arabic language, only a person automatically becomes Muslim. Wait a minute. Why does it have to be said in Arabic? There's a reason. Believe it or not, there's a reason. Some Muslims, again, you think about that. If they have to say, why do you want them to say it in Arabic? Because you're trying to tell everybody your prayers are ineffective if they're not in Arabic. Well, here's the other reason. Most likely, they don't know. Most likely, they do not know. Oh, there's plenty. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got. I think we might need everybody. So for this, so don't worry about stepping out at this point. I want you to think about that. If you can't communicate with somebody because they speak a different language than you, if it's God that has a different language than you, can't understand you because you're speaking in a different tongue, well, that means he's too small for you, because he should be bigger than that. I don't think he's much of a God if he can only communicate in one language. That doesn't say much for somebody like me, because I mostly communicate with one language and I'm not a God. It says how finite I am. All right, here's the other thing that happens. This is the real reason why they use the word, why they use the Shahada in Arabic. In Sharia, this concept of testimony. So he's saying, again, I bear witness. Testimony. When you bear witness in Islam under Sharia, you can't testify to anything. You can't be it's a false witness if you don't see with your own eyes, if you don't hear with your own ears, if you don't smell with your nose, taste with your tongue, touch by your hands, and you can't do that. It's a false witness if you don't do these things. Now tell me somebody that's alive today who can say he's seen, smelled, touched, or tasted Muhammad. What's for that fact? Let's try Allah. This is using their rules, their laws. So this statement up here, this is one of the reasons why they do this in Arabic. It says
90 seconds.
And it decided to change my value again. Just a second. I got to fix this. Okay. Fixed. Okay. So one of the things you have to sit there and look at, they don't want you to know that this word witness in Arabic under Sharia means you actually have to physically see, touch, smell to be a witness. Again, if this does not exist in the Quran, where does this information come from? These are very, very important things to say. Oh, okay. This is very, very important. I'm trying to. Okay, let's go here. Let's talk about this other part. What's another problem here? what Muslims in the West do. Oh, let's get into that. And you can find videos of this where when I was doing this with Usama, we were talking about the videos that we'd seen, and he shared some about this. You'll see people getting up there and they're saying these words in English. But instead of using the words I bear witness, because they're saying this in English, they change the word witness to I believe. Oh, now all of a sudden you're not bearing witness, how can you bear witness if you can't see these people? It's because, this is, in truthfulness, this is probably more accurate. But the problem is, it's not in Arabic, they don't use these words, and it's an exact opposite. You don't have to physically see, you don't have to physically touch, taste these people that you're supposed to testify to. It changes the entire structure of what you're saying. I say more accurate, if you're going to talk about a belief structure and those people aren't physically there, sorry, those are more accurate, but it doesn't fit with your concept of shahada because you use the words witness. Thank you, Dragon. Thank you. Keep thinking about this. It's false testimony under Islam to witness to something you haven't seen with your own eyes. So that makes the first pillar of Islam, an open statement of perjury under Sharia. And that makes the first pillar crumble. Think about it. I'm using their words, looking at their things. And again, I thank Usama for his work with me on this. We were working together on this project, okay? Second pillar, Salat, the 5 prayers. It says, this is all, it says they're Muslims must pray 5 times a day at exact defined periods of the day. All right, let's talk about the first problem with this. This is going to get humorous. Please keep all sounds. There'll be a point where people will want to make some sounds. All right. So let's think about this. Ritual required cleansing prior to Salah. You have to wash yourself. And this can take up to 15 minutes before you do the prayer. This is called wudu. And this is a special wash. All right. If there's no water, we're talking about, again, I'm using the word he for a reason. If there's no water, he, the Muslim man, must rub his hand and his face with good dirt. Wudu must be performed even if the person just finished taking a shower. So you finish taking a shower, you cannot. I've actually listened to videos where you'll hear Muslims talking about wudu. Well, I just jumped in the shower. Sorry, it doesn't count. Yeah. I just did this. I just did that. And it doesn't count because it's not this ritual. And you'll see a lot of Muslims commenting on this ritual. Okay. So you have to follow this through. You got to rub your hands, your face with good dirt, if there's no water around, and you can't do the shower. All right. Showering isn't acceptable because it's seen as a physical wash and not a purification ritual. Here we go. This is the funny part to me. A ritual of wudu begins with washing with both hands, rubbing them in running water. Okay, get them running and rubbing water. That kind of makes sense. Okay, now you got to wash your ears 3 times. 3 times each time. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you got to wash your face. 1, 2, 3. Okay. You got to wash your nose 3 times. 3 times. You got to gargle in your mouth 3 times. And wash your head 1 time. Wash your left hand from the tip of your elbow 3 times to the tip of your hand, right? Left hand all the way down to the tip of the elbow. Then you 3 times. Then from your tip of your right hand all the way down to the tip of your elbow. Wash your left foot to the tip of the toe, okay? And then do the same up the ankle. Wash your left foot, then wash your right foot. And these are 3 times. Now, there's no rule about drying off. Could that be because of humidity in the desert? I don't know. That's kind of amusing to me. All right. Think about that. What happens to break the voodoo, the ritual cleansing? Oh, the horrors. If you touch a female, I'm sorry, I still think that's humorous. Touching a female is, I mean, really, is a woman that dirty? Let's find out. Okay.
Wait. Are you? Is what I'm saying that women are dirtier than dirt?
Well, that's
Because
kind of,
if you got to clean yourself with dirt, and that cleans you, but the touch of woman makes you unclean. That means that women are dirtier than dirt.
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's keep going here. You'll see this. The shotgun kind of fits. Okay. Now, some of the people will claim that this has to do with sexual relations. Now, think about that. What did they do to wash themselves? They washed their hands, they washed their ears, they washed their nose, their face, their feet. Did they wash someplace else? Well, we're talking about sexual relations. No. So you got to go do this whole ritual cleansing again. And I mean, you think about that. Here's the thing I'm thinking about. It's way out there. Okay. You're at home, you're praying, you went through this ritual, and you're about to follow, and all of a sudden you got to have sex. I'm not going to say those. Okay. You're at the mosque. Are you really expecting to have a sexual hookup? I say again, this is the thought. I'm not saying that has to do with, we don't know that that's happening, but think about this. Even though when a man touches a woman, it makes him unclean, nothing says a woman touching a man makes her unclean. Whoa. This is interesting. So a Muslim woman definitely will not touch the hand of a man during this time. Why? Because they don't want to be in trouble, stopping their husband's prayers or their son's prayers or their whatever relative. Not good for them. Okay. Islamic scriptures never say anything causes a woman to become unclean. And this is where Rad is right. Because under Islam, women are dirty by nature. This is scary crap. To think that any kind of faith structure would believe that a woman is that unclean or by nature. I have two sisters. I think they're both wonderful women. The concept of that, just no. It's just wrong. I'm sorry. Okay. Here's another problem with voodoo. Something that violates voodoo. Farting. Okay, pass and win. We all know the statements for that. So when you fart, you got to answer these questions. Number one, did it make a sound? Okay. Or you got the silent but deadly. Okay. If yes, a Muslim needs to repeat the ritual. If it didn't, it was silent. Oh. Again, did you hear that silent? If no, did it make a smell? So if it did make a sound and it made a smell, usually you hear that silent but deadly. Yes, you got to wash. Then farts, which, this is the funny part. Farts, which cause a person to be dirty, makes all of the person dirty. Yet at no time during the ritual do they wash their behind. Remember, that ritual didn't have to do with your sexual parts, didn't have to do with your anus. All right, think about that. Yet you're unclean, and you got to do the ritual over again, but you don't have to clean the thing that made you unclean. That to me just makes me laugh. Okay, so what's the purpose? How are you going to get clean if you don't clean the thing that made you unclean? It doesn't make sense to me. All right. Here's another problem. Let's get back to prayer being offered, has to be offered in Arabic. Well, if 92% of all followers of Islam, lovers of Sharia, don't read Arabic, what does that say about what they're doing? They're being told to repeat something that they probably don't understand, or what they've been told it means. I can't do that myself for anything. I mean, you get told bonjour means hello. You can be told certain phrases in different languages, and you find out, yes, that's what they mean. But what if they're not exactly what you think? You got to start thinking about that. And why does prayers have to be offered in Arabic? Is this God so limited that he can't understand the prayer in your native tongue? For that matter, it would be English. For me, could be French, whatever language you speak, and Allah wouldn't understand. What does that mean? Think about it. And again, if this is 92% of the followers of Islam, if they dare speak in their native tongue, it's too hard for Allah. These are things I sit there and I laugh about. I mean, how can you not get that part? All right. And I will be... This just makes me laugh when I think about it all together. Okay. So 75% can say a prayer and have no idea what they're saying. They simply repeat words and actions without having full understanding of what they're doing. But again, if Allah can't figure it out, what is this saying? I mean, I sit here and laugh when I think about it. Why would you sit there and repeat whatever?
Hey, Paul, we lost you for like 20 seconds.
All right. You can hear me now? Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So whatever happened, this is the joy of being live and doing what I normally do. All right, just a second here. Speaker, here we go. Okay. I've just got to fix a few things. We'll keep going just a second. And this is the joy of doing things in two or three different ways. Okay. Now we are going back to work. Okay. Sorry about this. And I have no idea. This is happening more and more to me, and I can't figure out why. I may end up having to pick a different server, and I already pay extra, so somebody's going to end up owing me. And it didn't look like I had a short, so that's the issue to me. Second pillar, Salat. Again, we're still talking about the 5 prayers. Here's the other problem, the number of prayers. Okay, nowhere in the Quran does it say to pray 5 times a day. Why don't you think about that? It's not in there any place. But if you go to chapter 11, 114 tells Muslims to pray 3 times a day. But it's not in the Quran to pray 5 times a day. The only justification for 5 daily prayers comes from a story repeated by the Islamic scholars of Muhammad's night journey and dream. So let me get this out. So who needs a copy I know I saw Sharon. Let me just make sure I got Sharon. Sharon just
I
texted.
wanted to contribute one interesting thing. You said
Sure.
3 times a day, right? Do you
Yes.
know who prays 3 times a day?
Jews.
Jews pray 3 times a day. Shacharis, Mincha, and Matriv, which is the same prayer in Arabic. The final one, Maghrib, is Matriv. But isn't that fascinating? That's really interesting.
Well, I think that was done purposely because they were trying. Muhammad was initially trying to copy the Jews and trying to take credit that he was a Jewish prophet, yet he never had any prophecies. But that was his original claim. So I think he was trying to imitate. If he was real, that's what it was. All right. So did everybody, how many people need, if you're in the private chat, if you can just real quickly send me your link, your email, and I will just copy and paste it into an email and I'll send it out. And let me just get that ready. Sorry about the wait here. I know Sharon texted me. I'm just going to check and see where that is. Now I'm trying to see. I thought I saw a text. All right. Getting too many different messages at the same time. All right. So you can email me. I will send it to you. Where did I see it? There we go. Yeah, I do have Sharon's. Okay. This is really, and I think I have Darcy. Oh, no, I don't. All right. So for anybody who hasn't got this, got Sharon's. All right. And Larry. Okay. And I'll send this out right away. Anybody else need it and doesn't see the link at the beginning or hasn't got it, I'm just sending out the PDF. And go right. Trying to do everything quickly. And that doesn't just work sometimes. I put this together for fun. Partly because this is how we did the we wrote this together, Usama and I kind of took some liberties with it. So as you see, I sent that out to everybody, and I'd like Darcy to be the narrator. I said I would do Jabril because I wouldn't make anybody else do that. Jabril is the clueless wonder, and so I will read that part. And I'm looking for a volunteer to be Muhammad. Anybody want to volunteer to be Muhammad for this?
Wow, what an honor.
You want to do that?
It's possible. I have to do something first. I have one little errand I have to do, but
okay, so
I mean, when is he reading? What part do I need to read for that?
You'll see it. You'll see Muhammad. He's in here.
Okay.
And we're just going into this now. So if you're going to be going someplace, you can't. We would be able to keep it. We need someone to do Muhammad then, and
sure, that's fine. It's better to get someone else then.
Okay, and then we need someone to play someone in heaven.
When is that part? If that's later, maybe I could do that
No,
part.
no, they're all pretty quick because it's
they're quick.
Yeah, it's all pretty quick. I don't think it'll take very long. So we need someone in heaven. Anybody volunteering? And I am just going to put you know what? I'll just put this up. I'll get rid of this and I'll blow this up.
I was downloading the PDF.
No, I'm going to put it up on the screen. Maybe that'll help everybody so we can have a good laugh here. And let me just grow the screen a little bit so everybody can see. So we can have a good laugh. And it's going to make this bigger. All right. All right, so we just need someone to play someone in heaven. No volunteers?
I can try to do whatever.
Okay, so if you could do someone in heaven, we need someone. I said I'd do Jabril. We need someone to be Muhammad. One more volunteer.
Hello.
Yes. Hello.
Someone
you-
in heaven sounds kind of
This is
stupid.
this is Issa. How long is this production? Is it just like 10
Oh,
minutes?
about it's probably under 5, maybe 5.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll do it.
Okay,
I'll
so
do
you
it
do
before I go
Muhammad.
in.
All right. Okay. All right. So, here we go. Go ahead, Darcy. If
Okay,
you could read narrator.
What part do you need now?
Okay,
what
we
kind-
need. Okay, besides Jabril, let's see. I need an Adam. Was it Adam? No. Hold on. Someone in heaven. Yeah, we need Adam. Want to read Adam, Sharon? Sharon? All right. And that's pretty much it. Okay, we ready? Darcy, you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, you read the narrator part. I just put it up on the screen so
Well, I
everybody
can
can see
be Adam. It's just that I'm a woman.
it. Well, okay, let's say I don't care. Their concept
Maybe
of
you could
Adam is
train
really bizarre, so I think it actually fits. All right, so it's up on the screen.
Okay, am I?
Go ahead, Darcy.
Okay. Muhammad rode on his flying mule that took him to the holy house in Jerusalem, and there he prays with all the 124,000 prophets and messengers. Then the angel Jibril took Muhammad on the mule to the first heaven.
Who is this?
This is Jabril,
Who is with you?
Muhammad.
Were you sent to him?
Yes.
Come in. You're welcome.
There, Muhammad met with a very tall man, 90 foot tall. Every time the giant of a man.
Okay.
It's hard to see. It says, "Who is that?" I can't. Can you zoom up a little bit because there's a big.
Better?
There we go. Who is this man?
Adam.
When the giant Adam looked at his right hand, he laughed.
Why is he laughing?
It's because he saw all those who believed you.
When the giant Adam looked at his left hand, he cried.
Why is he crying?
Well done, Adam. It's because he saw all those who disbelieve in you burning in hell.
Welcome, my son. You are the blessed one, or son.
Then the angel Jibril took Muhammad to the second heaven.
Who is this?
I am Jabril,
Who is with you?
Muhammad.
Was it sent to him?
Yes, it was sent to him.
Welcome and welcome.
The door was opened to them, and when they went up to the second heaven, they saw 2 gushing rivers.
What are the 2 rivers?
These are the rivers of the Nile and the river of the Euphrates.
Then Muhammad ascended up with Jibril to the third heaven.
Who is this?
I am Jabril,
Who is with you?
Muhammad.
Was it sent to him?
Yes, it was sent to him.
Then the door was opened to them.
Welcome.
There, Muhammad saw castles made from diamonds, aquamarines, and sapphires. And other than that, no one knows except Allah. Muhammad began to smell the dirt of it. It was a beautiful fragrance, and asked,
Oh, Jibril, what is this dowry?
This is the abundance which your Lord hides for you for eternity. Now we're done with the reading, but I want to share. I'm going to put this up so everybody can see this. I want to go back up to one big thing here. To me, there's a couple things in this story before I even go on Okay, I want you to think about that. Muhammad smelling the dirt of Muhammad smelling the dirt in heaven. I have a problem with that one. I just don't get it. How can Muhammad smell the dirt in heaven? I mean,
How do you know he can't? Have you ever been to heaven? Clearly. You don't know. I'm just saying.
okay, here's the other part of that. If you're talking about smelling dirt, and Muhammad's supposed to be a desert creature, there's a difference between dirt and sand. And good dirt does have a good smell to it. If you've ever been on farmland and you've seen what good black dirt looks like and it smells like, it does have a beautiful aroma. For farmers, it gets them all excited. For people who live in the area, you know what that is. It's the land where you want to go plant. But the idea that Muhammad would actually know what good dirt is, kind of surprising. And the concept that he sees diamonds, aquamarines, and sapphires in the same place, probably never going to happen. But he sees them all in one place. All right. Those are things. And he has to do this ritual in every single level of heaven. You see how repetitive it was? So 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. So this is, I want you to keep thinking about that. It keeps going on. The first heaven in reality is, in the concept of Christian heaven is the atmosphere. The second heaven is, according to Christian concept, is stars and galaxies. And this is Judeo-Christian, I should say. And the third level is the heaven of heavens where Paul the Apostle and John ascended to. Quran also states there are 7 earths. And in every heaven there were prophets. And keep thinking about that. When Muhammad, let's see, let me get there. When Moses was in the 7th heaven, he was favored by the words of Allah. This goes on. Then Moses said, Lord, I never thought that someone would be above me. Wait a minute. So if Moses is in the 7th heaven, does that imply there's an 8th level of heaven? So you start thinking about that. Then Muhammad was taken above. Oh, wait a minute. He goes above the 7th level. So there's an 8th level. You got to keep thinking. He's the one who says above. It's the story. Okay. Then Muhammad was taken above that, where no one knows how high he was except Allah, until Muhammad came to the southern Muntaha, where Allah is. When Muhammad had drawn near to the Almighty, the Lord of glory, he received a revelation where Allah revealed to his servant whatever he wishes. That is where Allah revealed to him 50 prayers for his people every day and night. Comes down and he sees Moses, and Moses went down to see Moses on the 7th heaven. All right. And Moses says to him, what's the covenant of your Lord to you? Again, I'm going to say this over and over again. The Quran doesn't, the author of the Quran and Muhammad, whoever's writing these two things, doesn't know what the word covenant means. It's an agreement. It's a promise, and you keep it. You don't go back and say, let's negotiate. No, but that's what they do. So Moses says, Allah made a covenant for me. Sorry, Muhammad says, Allah made a covenant to me that we'll be praying 50 times every day and night. It's almost 100 times when you think about that. 50 times day and night. Moses says, go back, for your people will not be able to do that. Return so that the number of prayers will be lessened. So Muhammad looks at Jibril and he's asking him about it. And Jibril says, yes, and took him once up again to Allah. Muhammad says, Lord, lighten the number of prayers. So Allah says 45. He keeps going back and forth. Moses keeps telling him, hey, it's not Muhammad that did the right thing for you. It's Moses that does, according to this. Muhammad doesn't sound like a very good prophet or a good person to negotiate a deal with Allah because he's not too bright. He has to keep getting told what to do. Finally, he gets down to 5 prayers. I want you to think about that. Muslims only have to pray 5 times a day, but they receive the blessings of 50 prayers a day. When you think about it, they're actually saying a prayer 17 times a day. And in that prayer is a statement of hatred against every Jew and Christian. And I'm going to share something on that in a little bit. But this is something to think about. I mean, that's the night journey. I have issues with this story. Part of the reason is this. And let's see if I can get back here. All right, we read the script. The night journey doesn't appear in Ibn Ishaq's Sirah al-Rasul. Now, here's the problem. Ibn Ishaq's story, the Sirah al-Rasul, has a lot of details in it. So if this story actually existed, if it was there, if it was real, how come Ibn Ishaq didn't record it? This is a problem that's not discussed. It needs to be discussed. How about this one? If 5 daily prayers are mandated, what happens if you miss one and you can't do it during work? Now, I want you to think about that. If all these jobs where they're deciding, you think about the chicken factories and all these other places where a lot of Muslims are going to all of a sudden, and they're deciding they need a prayer room. But according to Sharia, you're allowed to skip prayers if you're at work. Wait a minute. So, wait. We got a problem here. Here's the problem. And I'm just going to go back here. You see this book, Reliance of the Traveler? Pick it up. Because all the claims that they absolutely must pray at this time, they absolutely must take time off, they absolutely must, are revealed in here not to be true. But here's the other thing that's in here. All those things that tell you how to pray, they're in here. They're not in the Quran. They're not in the Hadiths. They're not in the Sirahs. They're in here. The law, the Sharia. Don't you find it interesting that it's not in the Quran? It's not in the Hadiths. It's not in the Sirahs. How to pray. They vaguely describe. Oh, you got to prostrate. You got to do something. But there's an exactness to how you have to pray. So why is it written hundreds of years after the Quran was written? Why is it written hundreds of years after the Hadiths were given? So that's the stuff you have to start asking your questions about. Why is it that the Sharia has the exact structure and methods and words to say and everything? Why is that in here, but not in the Quran? That to me is extremely problematic. It should, again, why does it say in the Sharia you can skip prayers because you're working, but people decide that you absolutely must give them a break at work? You must do this because otherwise it's problematic. This is dangerous. Why? Because the point is basically, if you don't know much about Islam, they consider you too stupid to understand that they're trying to take advantage of you. So the Purdue chicken factory guy, the guy who runs the place, he's been forced to create a place for the Muslims to pray. But it says they don't need time off from work to do it. Oh, wait a minute. So you can't turn around. See, this is the issue. You can't turn around and say Sharia says you don't have to do that. You can get your butt to work. All right. You either work or you don't get paid. They can do that. That's something they could have negotiated. Now you start to wonder, the Purdue company could have saved millions of dollars on this. Millions. Think about it. It was all up to them. And I'm trying to get you in, Leah. Just a second. All right. Something to think about. How about this one? If prayer must be repeated exactly, and this is what I'm getting at, why is there a punishment for not doing these things 100% correct? Again, my issue, the big one, where did these ideas come from? Where did they come from? This bothers me. If they're not in the Hadith, they're not in the Sharia, where do they really come from? Because if they're in the law, where have they been all this time? Why was this hidden? This is extremely, extremely problematic to me. I say extremely problematic because there is no excuse for this stuff to not be in the Quran if these things are required. There's no excuse for these things not to be in Hadith if they are, quote, required. What we're seeing is they're not really required. And the claim, by the way, of 7 levels of heaven, as we saw in the story, there's got to be more levels of heaven because Muhammad just got taken above the 7th level of heaven. So, Dante's, Darcy, thank you for mentioning the 7 levels of hell. So if this goes back to the concept of Gnosticism. There's always another level. You have to have the secret password. And this is the concept that you see where Jibreel is knocking on the door to go to a higher level. During this time period where this was handed out, there was Gnosticism being taught within Christianity and within several different faith structures. And this is all about secret knowledge gets you to a higher level. Well, this goes against everything Christianity and Judaism teach. What is said in secret under Judaism and Christianity has to be spoken out in public from the teachings. Whatever Jesus taught in secret he was told to take it and shout from the mountaintops. All right, don't keep things secret. So where is the basis for doing these things exactly as they say? Show me. Outside of Sharia, I want to see one spot where it can be found, because otherwise there's no basis for the 5 times a day. Start thinking about that. It's not in the Quran. And if that's the first thing out, we get a problem. Why is this so bad? I think that's the end of my PowerPoint for today. I look at these things and I just see them as problematic. We'll go here. I don't understand why this keeps going on, where people keep saying we have to do this, we have to do that. Why? And I think those are questions we all need to be asking. Now, one of the things Dr. Kufarphobia does, I know my camera keeps flashing. I have to buy a new computer this week, and that's what I'm going to be spending my next paycheck on, unfortunately. There's nothing I can do to fix it. I talked to a friend who takes computers apart, puts them back together again. He explained what the issue is, and he said, "Yep, you need to buy a new computer." Yeah, so that's the issue that's going on, and I will be doing that. Unfortunately, investing my cash in a new toy. I hate doing those things, but that's me. So, again, think about these things that I'm talking about, how this stuff is not in Islamic scripture. Yet that is the claim. They have to go take over a street to pray. Really? I mean, they're doing this all throughout Europe. Really? Show me that in the Quran. Show me one place. I'll believe you. Show it to me in the Quran, where you need to be out in public to pray. Please show it to me. And then show me how you're supposed to pray in the Quran. If this has to be done in public, show it to me in the Quran. And then I want you to show me how you have to pray. Why isn't it there? Okay, now, well, that's what I think every time they decide to do this, these public prayers in Europe, They should just go up there and say, okay, if you could prove to me in the Quran that you have to do these things and that, you have to bang your head on the ground and all this stuff. You have to do it in public. Show it to me one place in the Quran. What would happen if that was the question?
I have a comment.
Yes, go ahead.
I thought that was for political reasons to show like they're growing in numbers and they're a political force. I thought that's what
It's
it was.
exactly what it is. You're 100% accurate.
Oh,
But
okay.
the claim is that it's religious.
They're hiding under the cloak of religion.
Yes. And this is where I'm looking at this and I get a little frustrated and I get I look at these things and I say, what's going on here? When I was in Europe and some of these things were happening and they were talking about it, and I don't consider myself an expert on Islam. I'm still to the point where I'm not even there. I've been learning from all of you. I consider myself an expert on civilization jihad, but the more I learn about Islam, the more I question the things the civilization jihadis do. I mean, I get all the concepts of jihad. I get that. But again, I get the concept of lying to us, which is what they're doing when they do these statements of going out. I have to pray. No, you don't. Sharia says you don't. What happens if we actually arm ourselves with knowledge? The big thing Usama Doc says all the time, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. That comes right from the scriptures. We can't be that kind of a people anymore. As Christians, as lovers of Christ, as lovers of the Bible, as lovers of truth, we can't allow that to be us. We have to be the most informed. I had a pastor many years ago, Pastor Donald Bolt, and he would say to us dads, not picking on the women, it's just the dads he was talking to, you have to be the first and best source for your children. Under the stuff on Islam, I failed. I didn't know enough to give them the answer, and I didn't know enough of what to look for, or I didn't know anything. And I get mad at myself when I look back at that time because my daughter was asking me those questions. I gave her the best answers I knew. They were right answers, but I could have said more if I was more informed. Now the question is, what are we doing to share that information? And that's where I think, I don't have a problem with you sharing books. I don't have a problem. I think that's important too. I'm always trying to learn more. I'm always buying more books, and I'm always trying to sell more of what I write and stuff. But that helps. Keep becoming seekers of truth. I want to leave this topic, and I want to get into some really bizarre news stories. I say bizarre because there are some real bad things that happened this past week. And I look at one of these stories, really bothers me. How many are familiar with what happened with PayPal this past week? Anybody familiar? And I'm just going to throw this link in the chat room. This is one of the better stories I saw.
Oh yeah, I actually deleted my PayPal account. I never used it anyway, but I did delete it. Definitely.
I am in the midst of doing that. I have not been allowed to, because I had a transaction in process. But this really bothers me. Why do I say it bothers me? Is because I had a person contact me, say, "Hey, did you know that PayPal said they're gonna delete you?" Or no, not delete you. Oh no, it was far worse than delete. Let me read this. This just, I don't know. I mean, people contacted me. It wasn't just one person, but it was one person primarily. And he's telling me this stuff, and I don't believe him. Because the source was not what I would call reliable. I had problems with the source. That bother when I try to get, it's very, very important because I try to verify my sources. And if I can't verify a source, that's a problem. Every source that he had originally provided, I couldn't trust. And in the end, he was right. So this story is on that. It's by Aaron Terr, and it's in thefire.org. And it starts out, it's been a tough few weeks for PayPal. The company shut down the account of Free Speech Union, reinstating it only after many denounced PayPal apparently viewpoint discriminatory decision. The news emerged that PayPal was amending its policy, its acceptable use policy, to add several new categories of prohibited speech. Last week, Fire criticized the proposed changes. Now, PayPal appears to be backing off somewhat, at least. As we said last week, PayPal's amended policy, acceptable use policy, which was slated to take effect November 3rd, would have placed a significant amount of expression out of bounds. This is from them, from PayPal. The new policy dramatically expands PayPal's power to take action against users for activity on the service involving disfavored speech. This includes any message, content, or materials that in PayPal's sole discretion are harmful or objectionable, appear to depict nudity, promote, or incite hatred or discrimination against protected groups. And they don't tell you what the protected groups are. Prevent a risk to users. And what happened here? Okay, so that's still working. All right. Yeah. So they amended this policy stating they may fine users $2,500 for each violation of the policy. They were going to go into your bank accounts, not your PayPal account, into your bank accounts and steal money because you disagreed with them. That's what when I heard this, I didn't believe it at all. I mean, it's such a violation of freedom of speech. And it was
Didn't
so.
you sue them? If
Sorry,
they
what?
did that to me, I think I'd sue them.
Well, that's the point. Here in the States, there was no legal way they could have done it. And that's what it gets me. So in Europe or in other countries, this would have been easily gotten away with. So again, I'm in the midst of shutting my account down. I think probably as of tomorrow morning, I can shut it down. I receive income through there for various different things I do. And I'm just going to use other sources. There are a lot of other ways to pay income through the internet. PayPal does not have to be one of them. There's other reasons I probably should have shut down the account. But considering they were willing to go into my account to take $2,500 out, regardless of how much money you had in your account, to think that they have a right without your permission to take money from your account, that bothers me because you don't agree with their stance. Now think about this. It was a veiled threat against certain sexually oriented materials or services, promotion of hate, violence, radical, or other forms of intolerance that is discriminatory, or the financial exploitation of a crime. Think about it. They could be, these are all reasons that they could steal money from your account. Think about it.
Well, they can accuse anybody they want then.
Yes, and that's what it comes down to. They could, and this is extremely dangerous. And I have, when I looked at this, I had serious problems. Again, I got the story, I was told about it, and I didn't believe it. It was just too hard for me to believe. How could these even, in the United States, it was just too far out there for me. So I don't remember if this person was communicating with me was from another country, but even in the States, I'm just thinking, there's no way this could have been done legally. My bank would have sat there and laughed at PayPal. You could do this charge all you want. There's no guarantee of service here. There's no billing here. You can't fine somebody $2,500 for disagreeing with you. You can't do that. Now, Jesus Worldwide asked a good question. Here we go. How much longer before the banks try that? Well, when that mark of the beast comes out, you'll know that that's the day. That's where I'm going to leave that. I don't have an answer, and I'm concerned, that this stuff is going on, but we don't have a choice. And these things are just, in the long run, it's scary. I mean, I look at that like, wow.
Paul?
Yes.
I heard where Biden wants to make money, get rid of the paper dollar and the coins and all that kind of stuff and put it online. And that's where he could control us. I mean, that's where they
yes.
Yes.
So that is actually written into law. So
really?
unless we turn the country red, we will no longer have paper money or money that you can put in your pocket as of, was it December or January? I'm not sure. I remember the date. I was pretty sure it was December. It was something like December 13th. I have to double check that one. So that is already written into, I don't know if it's a law or it's an executive. I think it was an executive order. Again, using the pen versus writing a bill to make a law. And Biden believes he has the power to make law. But when you have dementia, you believe anything you're told. So that's another problem. And these things, they just seem so unbelievable. Believe me, I have been following a number of news stories. That my favorite story this week. We'll get into one of those in a minute. But there's just so much out there now. These news stories. I mean, I was just looking through stories today to get things going and to get ready for this. And I found this one story, which I do want to share. And I will put it up on the screen in a second. This one is about AOC. I'll put the link in the chat room. You may want to share this out with your friends. Now, I have to say, every time I look at this video, I start to laugh. Now, if you're not a fan of AOC, this is something you want to share out. Put it on your Facebook group. Put it every place, besides just sharing out our group. Please do. I mean, this is a story I think that should be shared all over the world because it reveals who AOC really is. I'm just going to hit share the screen, and this will just blow your mind. This is an AOC had a quote town meeting with her constituents. It didn't go well for her. And that's what I find interesting. Sometimes things don't go as planned, but can you imagine being a liberal and the liberals are mad at you because you're just showing yourself to be stupid? That's not cool. All right, so let me just play this because this is mind-numbing. I'm going to mute myself so you can hear this pretty well.
Congresswoman, none of this matters unless there's a nuclear war, which you voted to send arms and weapons to Ukraine. Tulsi Gabbard, she's left the Democratic Party because they're a bunch of war hawks. Okay? You originally voted, you ran as an outsider, yet you've been voting to start this war in Ukraine. You're voting to start a thermonuclear war with Russia and China. Why are you playing with the lives of American citizens? You're playing with our lives.
There will be no neighbors if there's a nuclear bomb. You voted to mobilize and send money to Ukrainian Nazis. You're a coward. You're a progressive socialist. Where are you against the war mobilization? He's telling the right truth. You have done nothing. Tulsi Gabbard has shown guts where you've shown cowardice. I believed in you, and you became the very thing you sought to fight against. That's what you've become. You are the establishment, and you are the reason why everybody will end up in a nuclear war unless you choose to stand up right now and denounce the Democratic Party. Will you do that? Yes or no? Okay, simple. Are you going to stop nuclear war? Yes or no? There is no line, because this is bullshit. None of this matters if we're all dead. None of it. You know that. Then let's take it up right now, because this is the only thing that matters. This is the only thing that matters right now. We could be in a nuclear war at any minute, and you continue to fund it. That's what's going on.
Why is this too hard? I think what they said was simple. They didn't ask her to do anything difficult. They asked her to say no. They didn't ask her to do something hard. Why was that too hard for her?
That's quite sad.
I was surprised. I mean, these are what I would have called bleeding heart liberals that are out there, and they were challenging her stand with the party that is actually endorsing Ukrainian Nazis. They're refusing to accept that they are Nazis. Well, I think they got to do a little bit of research, because socialism, which AOC is all behind, is what the Nazi party is all about, socialism. So if you're a socialist and you don't back Nazism, we have a problem here, because you don't know what you're backing. But if you're a socialist and you back Nazism, that makes sense, which is what AOC claims to be into socialism. So she backs the Nazis. It's what Biden backs. He claims that he likes socialism. He backs the Nazis. Not a surprise. But when we're talking about nuclear war, I think that was a very simple question. Will you leave the party that wants the war? She didn't want to even talk about that. And that is a little upsetting. I'm not saying there's going to be a war, and I don't think that Putin wants a nuclear war. Is there posturing going on? Yes. Sometimes I think a lot of the posturing is purposeful misinformation. I just don't see Putin as doing more than posturing. There are reasons for posturing. If it makes another person nervous, great. Yeah, that's part of the game. It's part of politics. You do that for a reason. It's extremely important in politics. You have to play that game. But the fact that AOC and all these Democrats are willing to play the part of the danger, the part that doesn't listen to what could be happening, that's scary. That bothers me to think that that's actually happening. And this, to me, this next piece I'm going to share, to me, is the biggest story of the week. Now, I'm going to pull this over, and I say the biggest story. And hold on. It is the biggest story of the week. And I saw this. I do a lot of news stories from Europe. So I'm reading stuff from Europe, sometimes more than I read from America, for a reason. What I'm going to share with you should shock you, make you very angry, for a number of reasons. Number one, what's being shared here is about these Pfizer injections that they call vaccines. You're going to learn here the truth from a Pfizer director. You can actually get a hold of this video. I'll put the link in just a minute. But listen to this. This should blow your mind.
If you don't get vaccinated, you're antisocial. This is what the Dutch Prime Minister and Health Minister told us. You don't get vaccinated just for yourself, but also for others. You do it for all of society. That's what I said. Today, this turned out to be complete nonsense. In a COVID hearing in the European Parliament, one of the Pfizer directors just admitted to me, at the time of introduction, the vaccine had never been tested on stopping the transmission of the virus. This removes the entire legal basis for the COVID passport. The COVID passport that led to massive institutional discrimination as people lost access to essential parts of society. I find this to be shocking, even criminal. Please watch the video until the end.
Voor u, mevrouw Small, heb ik de volgende vraag waar ik een duidelijk antwoord op wil. And I will speak in English so there are no misunderstandings. Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
This is scandalous. Millions of people worldwide felt forced to get vaccinated because of the myth that you do it for others. Now, this turned out to be a cheap lie. This should be exposed. Please share this video.
No sound.
Is that better?
Yeah,
Hello?
I mean, that really infuriates me. It
Yeah.
scares me.
I'm just shocked when I watch that. Like, I knew this stuff was true, but now they're coming out and admitted they just put it on the market. We never tested to see if it would protect you. Oh. So, what was the purpose of this? That's the question we now have to ask. Was this all put out to get extra income for Pfizer? Is that the sole purpose? And I think there's a dual purpose, especially with Pfizer's, because Pfizer stole something from Moderna and put it in their jab. I'm not calling it a vax. They put it in the jab, and Moderna's suing Pfizer over it. It's an element that causes the chemicals in the jab to go through the blood-brain barrier. This is why people get blood clots in the brain from getting this. What was the purpose of doing this? Keep asking.
The purpose is not just for the sake of getting the vaccine or protecting yourself. I'm sorry for the echo.
No, that's me.
It's a test to see who's going to run and get this, just like sheep. It's sickening.
Let me put that link into the chat room just a second. I think it should be shared out far and wide. When I put stuff out, I mean, I'm trying not to put out a false message. I check things. I mean, I spend some time looking. I look at news sources. If there's a source, I even sometimes when I see something on a trusted source, I try to go to the original stuff. Even when I do Robert Spencer's stuff and I share that, I like to go to the original source. Why? Because sometimes, just sometimes that original source may say something different or may have more than what you expected. And then sometimes I want to go to the author, which I've done. I've written to authors of articles, journalists, whatever they want to, writers, whatever they prefer to call themselves, and I ask them questions about what they wrote. And sometimes I learn just a little bit more by doing that because they weren't allowed to share something through that news source, or they weren't allowed to, or they just didn't feel like they could say these things. Like, that's one of the reasons some of the stuff in my second book, Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam, is there, because I do call those people who write the stories. That's part of why you do. I mean, doing research has to do with finding out what is true. And sometimes when you find those little details out, I was actually able to help a guy who was writing a story, who'd written this series of articles on a story, find out what was true, and no, he could never publish it. And he just sat there like, I had the answer all that time. He was looking for an answer for who caused something to happen in a school district, and I told him who. Because of my background as an educator, I could tell him that. Because he didn't have that, there was no way he could know that truth. Again, these things are just, some of these things are just mind-numbing. This is, again, the reason of getting into research is always a love of finding out what's true. I'm going to share this next article. I generally go to, when I go to Robert Spencer's site or Jihad Watch, I like to go to the original articles they cite. But this time, I didn't, and I didn't for a reason. I think you'll find this information surprising. So I'm just going to pull this up. Here we go. And this is called Dearborn Muslims Protest LGBTQ Agenda at School Board Meeting. Muslim leader calls protest very embarrassing. This came out today. The protest was very embarrassing for everyone concerned. The far-left Detroit Free Press pseudo-journalist Niraj Wariku says that even a heavy police presence couldn't keep the meeting from descending into chaos. And this is especially embarrassing for local Muslim leaders such as Osama Siblani, as they know that leftists are their staunchest and most independent allies. If the leftist Islamic alliance splits, think about this. Events could take an ugly turn, especially given the leftist increased penchant for authoritarianism. So if the leftists leave wait a minute. That would mean even the leftists don't see Islam as, yeah, good reason. Okay, let's keep going. It says, but this is also embarrassing for the leftist school board members, for they would rather have their teeth pulled out one by one with a rusty pliers that appear to be Islamophobic, and yet they can't appease the Muslims in Dearborn in this instance without giving up their cherished gender fantasies and relentless agenda of sexualizing children. Really? They can't give that up, and they sit on something called a school board? I know in my state, that concept is illegal. Wait a minute. But they were teaching stuff that did that here in New York State. So they were violating the law. Guess what? They're violating, every teacher who's doing this stuff is violating their ethics clauses in their contract that every single one of them signed. They don't even know it. That's the scary part. Most states don't allow you to talk about anything that has to do with sexuality. It's a violation of the law. But they do it, and they get away with it. Because in general, most people don't share. And nobody believes a student over, most people don't believe students. Oh, but now they have cell phones. And they're recording the teachers doing this stuff. Not saying I agree with the concept of a student having a cell phone recording anybody in a public setting. I don't agree with the students recording educators. I don't. There's reasons I don't. I just don't see it as good for anyone. But in this case, when I see this stuff, it's stuff that nobody will believe. Yeah, I think it can be good, but again, 99.999% of the time, not behind it. Some of the stuff is just too wrong. Now, I saw this article out of Germany. I want to share this. I saw this from Jihad Watch, and when I saw this article, it's hard to believe we live in Western society when something like this pops up. This article I put in the chat room, and I'm just gonna go up here and put it in on my site. This is out of Germany, Luxembourg, Germany, and I know we have seen something similar here in the States, but it doesn't matter how many times I hear something like this. To me, it's just shocking. The title is Luxembourg, Moroccan arrested for beheading a woman. 48-year-old man was arrested this past Thursday, was accused of the murder of Diana, whose dismembered body was found on Mount Saint-Martin. The suspect was brought before the examining magistrate in Dietrich on Friday, who issued a warrant for his arrest. He was charged mainly with murder, premeditated killing, and secondarily with manslaughter. Premeditated killing, crimes punishable by life imprisonment under the Luxembourg Penal Code. This man is in pre-trial detention in Strasbourg. According to our information, which confirms Contacto's information, the suspect is Moroccan. He's said to be the uncle of a man Diana had married last summer, a marriage that the Portuguese press cited relatives of the victim called arranged in order to allow the husband to obtain Portuguese citizenship in exchange for payment. So, this 48-year-old killed somebody, beheaded her, and this is just, and you know what they're not saying? This guy is a Muslim. Oh, think about this. Which faith structure do you know of that brags about doing this? There's only one. It's not permitted under Judaic law. It's not permitted in Christianity, but it's encouraged only under one faith structure. It's called Islam. Now I would like, anybody has any questions or something they'd like to ask, please do. Door is open. Or the floor is open, I should say. No questions?
No, I don't trust myself to say anything right now after that vaccine video.
Surprised? That one.
I'm angry. I am angry. I'm terrified for my son.
Yeah. My son went and got it because it got him a free ticket to a football game to see the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. He had natural immunity. It's gone. But like I explained to him, all the medical studies tell you that this stuff was dangerous. This is, when I started hearing people use the terms pure blood, I'm still not sure how I feel about that. I'm not looking to have kids. I'm in my late 50s. I'm not looking to have kids, but if I was at the age where I was looking to have kids, that would make a lot of sense to me. Because we do know, and even Pfizer has admitted, that what is in the bloodstream, the genes here, are affected by the Pfizer jab, because guess what? It does mess with your DNA. These are medical studies that actually back this up. And again, you can find them. Go to scholarship.google.com if you're looking for some of these studies. You can type in COVID-19 vax. You can type in Pfizer vax and efficaciousness. EFFACIOUS. You can type in effectiveness. You can type in immunity with that. There's a whole bunch of things you can look at. Some of these studies, you just sit there. I mean, these are published studies in peer-reviewed journals that are telling us that this jab was dangerous. My question also, I guess, that I would ask everybody, as a person who lives in Western society, what should be done to people who knowingly released and allowed us to be informed of the effectiveness of something that was not proven to be effective? I mean, their goal was to make money. We get that. But was their goal to purposely lie to us to make money? Was their goal to create a storm, a fear storm? There's a lot of issues here.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of fear that they succeeded in creating, and it's so intertwined into politics. It's like, I keep telling people, you guys are following the political science, you're not following the medical science. But unfortunately, the medical science chose to follow the political science. And
you can go to schools today, and you will still see, in businesses today, in public today, you will still see people wearing masks.
Yeah, I know.
I don't get that.
I just saw somebody in a car, before this started, all by themselves, wearing a mask.
They're afraid of infecting themselves. Well, it's a scary thought.
Okay, I got to mute myself while I laugh. Okay.
I'll laugh. I'll laugh for you. I sit there and oh my gosh.
So funny.
What is the purpose of the mask? And then here's the other thing with COVID that people don't want to talk about. The spreading of COVID is not as dangerous as it's not as strong a contaminant as they talk about. The more something mutates, the easier the transmission. But even still, it's not like the flu. It's not easily transmitted. It's not even close to the flu. I've heard all sorts of things about how this variant does this and this variant does that. Okay, and I sit there and I try to check. I'm hearing some from people who are supposed work in a medical field, and this is what they're being told. My question is, when they're being told this stuff, how many of them who are being told these things who work in the medical fields actually go and look at the medical studies on the stuff they've been told? That's the stuff that really bothers me. You can go to your local health organization, and they probably still require you to wear a mask to come in. Did you not read the science about the dangers of healthy people wearing masks? That was published by the World Health Organization and the CDC. Yeah. When will the medical professionals go back to using science? That's a question I have every time I see my doctor. I'm waiting for you guys to start using science and to stop being wussies. I would love to see pastors out there telling the truth about these things. Look, from the pulpit, we discovered this week. Can you imagine the people in a church where they heard this being preached from the pulpit? We heard this on the news. Or better yet, play something like this. Like I played earlier. Pfizer director saying it was never checked for its to see if it was effective to stop transmission? What would happen? You place something like that in Times Square, or only any one of the places where there's hundreds of thousands of people. What would happen? Would people get angry? Yes, they should. Would they get angry at the person delivering the message? I hope not. They should get angry at the company that cheated every single person, and they cheated the government out of tens of millions of dollars to do this. I want to say thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for the conversation and joining us for the playing out the bit. I really had fun with that. Thank you thank you.
That was so funny. Thanks
What kills
for
me
putting it
with
out.
that one, I will say, is the repetitions, but that's what the Quran is all about, is repetitions. So I almost wonder if it's the same. Somebody tried to repeat the repetitiousness of the Quran. They got the concept, but again, it's not in the Quran. So again, you have to sit there and wonder, where did that story come from?
Yeah.
Everybody have a great night. God bless.
And God bless.
Thank you. God bless you too.
All right, here we go. And hold on just